Hey, you're listening to the Road to a Billion podcast. I'm your host, Stefan Georgi, and I'm glad to have you with me here today. The Road to a Billion is a call-in radio show style podcast where you can ask myself and my guests questions about freelancing, copywriting, entrepreneurship, mindset, scaling businesses, relationships, money, and more. The reason for the name The Road to a Billion is because I've hit around $1 billion in sales through my copy and marketing for myself and my clients, and because my goal is to make an impact in the lives of 1 billion people over the next 10 years. We'll start taking calls in about 30 minutes from now. And by calls, we mean your questions you'll be able to put into Zoom, and it'll be me and my special guest, who I'll introduce in a moment, along with Ed Reay. Ed, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and say hello to everybody?
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Ed Reay, and I am the Facebook compliance guy.
Awesome. He is, and he's the man too. So we're glad to have you. And speaking of people who are the man or the men, my guest today is Vince Del Monte. So I put in the teaser something around how your muscles and your income are going to get a workout after this one. Vince, if you don't know him, he's helped thousands of men and women with muscle-unfriendly genetics to reach their fitness dreams. And he's helped many entrepreneurs to make more income from a single month of business than they had in the entire previous year. I'll just note quickly on a personal side that I've gotten to know Vince over the last couple of years, and he's such a smart person, such a brilliant mind, so good with mindset, so good with coaching people, and has incredible values, which is so important in this space. Really, he's a man of God. He's a man of who cares about his family deeply, and he cares about others. If you don't know Vince, I'm thrilled to have him here. He built a fitness empire, consistently generated over $1 million a year for over a decade. He's the founder of both the 7-figure Mastermind and 6-figure coach program, helps entrepreneurs making 6 figures scale to the $1 million level. He helps beginning fitness entrepreneurs get to their first $5,000 months. And he's the author of No Nonsense Muscle Building, Skinny Guy's Secrets to Insane Muscle Gain, which has sold more than 80,000 copies in more than 120 different countries. And that barely scratches the surface. So Vince, thanks so much for taking the time to come join us today.
Hey, Stefan, thanks so much, man. Good to hang with all you guys. Ed, good to see you. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to help a lot of people today.
Yeah, I'm really stoked. So Vince, I guess let's start with your journey. I mean, I always like you because you've been in the space for a long time. What's funny actually is one of my really earliest clients in 2012 hired me off of, I think they hired me off of like Upwork or Elance at the time. And they were doing like a muscle kind of gain program for skinny fat guys. And the copy they showed me to model off of was one of your offers. And I'm like, oh, who's this Vince Del Monte guy? And this was in like 2012. And we didn't actually meet and get to know each other for, I think, till 2019 or something like that, 2018 maybe. But it was kind of funny for me because like, even as I was getting my start, you were already crushing it. So how did you get started in the whole space of, I guess, entrepreneurship, digital marketing, and then eventually coaching? What was that journey like?
Yeah, I'll give you try and do the long story short. Came out of university as a personal trainer, spent 50K, got a nice fancy degree that I look at every single day on my wall. And I started working at a YMCA for $10 an hour. And I quickly realized it wasn't my boss's job to make me rich. It was my boss's job to give me a paycheck. That's when I was pointed towards Rich Dad Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, probably the game-changing book for me when it came to business and thinking differently. When it came to finances, I didn't grow up with money. Both my parents were in full-time Christian ministry, which basically means they have to raise support. And my parents never saw, even to this day, more than $70,000 a year. And they never talked about money, so I wasn't given any form of like wealth creation, coaching, growing up environment kind of thing. But I always had a burning desire to see what was possible. I was a creator. I was a distance runner. So you'll start to see a lot of parallels. I like to create. I like to do my own thing. I was really drawn to this world of personal training, but I didn't look like a personal trainer. I was still skinny Vinny. I was a long distance runner. So this was a chance to kind of collide these worlds, look like a trainer, maybe start trying to make more than $10 an hour, and love with the world of fitness and the world of helping people build muscle specifically, because that became my very first transformation after spending years and years being a scrawny runner. So essentially what happened in the fitness industry, all these events, they connect dots, which really will help people gain a sense of peace about their own journey. because I feel like a lot of people I talk to feel like they're behind. And I love the saying that life doesn't make sense until you look back and watch it in reverse. So when I was personal training in the gym, I discovered also the world of selling and selling coaching packages. And I eventually was given an opportunity to not train on the gym floor to deliver the service, but to sell the service. And I quickly realized you can make a lot more money selling and working on commissions. So I spent the next couple of years learning this skill set of closing face to face in an office. And I became I wouldn't say an expert, but I became pretty proficient at it. And I was able to start building this department from 2 to 3 trainers up to 15 personal trainers, all living off of my efforts to close. I'm like, wow. So this was a good 2-3 year stretch, and I fell in love with this concept of being able to write my own paycheck. And my boss, who's still a friend to this day, introduced me to this world of internet marketing. And he started sharing with me these long form sales pages. Stefan, you know which ones I'm talking about. Everybody here knows what I'm talking about. Back in 2005, though, they looked very, I was just like curious more so, to be honest. I'm like, does anybody actually buy anything off these things? And there was a long one from a guy named, I should drop the names because you guys might be this group here will find this interesting. A guy named Anthony Ellis. And I think it was, his site was, gainmusclesfast.com, something like that. It was like a 96-page sales letter. I went into a couple different forums and I discovered that he was selling about 10 copies a day at $97. And my first impression was, that's impossible. There's no one in the world that can make $30,000 a month. Like, that's impossible. So that was where my mindset was. To make $1,000 a day at the age of about 24, 25, that's impossible. And sure enough, I found out that he was doing that because I tracked down the copywriter who wrote the page for him. He's like, oh yeah, he's doing really great. And that created more curiosity. And I then hired a business coach on 2 credit cards because I was a trainer living paycheck to paycheck, $48,000 a year. I put it on 2 separate credit cards, $7,500 with a business coach that I still haven't met to this day. And he taught me how to, 1, identify a marketplace, 2, write long form sales copy. I had my own 96-page sales page shortly after that. And then create the product. I wrote no nonsense muscle building. And then I started to learn how to do Google AdWords and then article marketing. And that was the beginning of my introduction to the world of internet marketing. So that was 2006. As you mentioned, that grew to a 7-figure business. I built multiple 7-figure muscle building businesses, and I built multiple 6-figure businesses for my wife in the female fitness space. And after about 12, 13 years, a lot of people start to approach you and they say, hey, do you teach what you've done? And for me, it wasn't even like, I wasn't thinking about like being a business coach. But after creating videos on leg extensions versus squats for 10 years, you're ready for a transition. And it was perfect because I had 2 kids at the time and a lot of people were coming to me. So I launched my own mastermind a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. Now we have, that's a 5-figure price point. And we've had almost 400 people go through that coaching program. And it's a 12-month coaching program. And we've got over 400 people in a $2,000 coaching program. And, our thing that we specialize in is helping you scale without selling your soul. All right. And I think as the copywriters here, you guys want some good copywriting stuff. I think like that's the brand. It's that you can build a profit-rich business. You can scale to $20,000, $40,000, $80,000 months. We have members over $200,000 a month, all in the fitness space. I don't coach business coaches. I want to make that clear. I only work with online fitness coaches. And now we have over 225 active members in a 7-figure mastermind who are scaling to $20,000, $40,000, $80,000, $100,000 months. Our specialty is organic. And I share all that because how I separate myself in the marketplace is that you can do this without selling your soul. You don't have to lose your faith. You don't have to lose your fitness. You don't have to kick your family to the curb in the name of getting to the next level. And in this world, it's a competitive world. Everybody's sharing their numbers. I get it. And I'm a competitive guy. So I've really tried to stand out in this crowded marketplace by sharing. It's not how much you make, it's who you become in the process. Anybody can hit a 7-figure business. That's not hard. The question is do you like who you are when you get there? And I think who you're becoming in the process is far more important, and how you're doing it is far more important versus whether you do it or not. Because Stefan, you and I know lots of guys at a lot of levels, and sure, we'd love their bank accounts, but we might not trade other aspects of their life for the money. And that's really how I've tried to show up. And I'll wrap it up there, but that's Vince Del Monte for you.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, there's so much good stuff there. And yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we both know so many very successful people who are utterly unhappy, right? And, you know, they have one aspect of their life is great, their bank account is great, but their personal lives are in shambles, or their relationships are in shambles, or their, you know, they're in a mental hell, they're depressed, whatever it is. And it's not worth it, right? Like, money makes things better for sure. Like, I'd rather have money than not have money. Yeah. So when people just sort of say it doesn't buy happiness, that's true. It can help, but yeah, it is about who you are. And I think that's the realization. It takes a while, and I get it. And this is a time to a question I have for you. Because, you know, when you're young, for the same reason, like I've talked about ethical copy versus unethical copy, and I've really made a move to try to only write very ethical stuff. But you know, I'm open about when I was younger, I would write stuff that was probably not very ethical. And I had all kinds of rationalizations for it. I didn't think I was being like this total sleaze bag, but like I also was coming up, and I try not to judge, you know, young writers who are coming up and figuring it out. But you'll realize is even if whether you make money ethically or unethically, the money just doesn't mean everything. It's about who you become. The question I have specifically around that is the mindset aspect, right? And you invested in a coach, you did all of these things, but, you know, coming from a modest background, right? Like, did you find that you had a lot of mental blocks around money early on, and other kind of mindset issues, being, you know, you were skinny Vinny, right? Like, how did you, what were some of the most important things you did on the mindset front, both to get over blocks around money, but also just, you know, yourself as a person and your self-esteem and self-worth and everything?
Those are good questions. I think the first thing I remember there being a conversation I ran through my head, which is, what's the worst thing that can happen? I think that's an important question everybody asks, and they run the movie until the very end, like run the worst nightmare possible. And for me, losing $7,500 was recoverable. All right. Even if someone's coaching program's 20K, 30K, 50K, would you recover? I'm like, yeah. And I'll probably just stay working at Phoenix Fitness for, you know, $48,000 a year the rest of my life. It's not that bad. So what am I exactly afraid of? So I think we need to run both ends of the spectrum. Then you go, you know, run that negative waterfall, but then also run the positive waterfall. Well, what if it does work? So that helped me make the initial leap. What happens is you start to make more money. The money doesn't become as important. What becomes important is the identity that you're gaining from the money. And this is where it starts to become interesting. So what happened to me after I, you know, got to the 7-figure level and I was hanging out, you know, just under $2 million a year for a while, a lot of people started telling me, this was from my fitness stuff, they said, like, why do you need more? And like, isn't this enough? And I believe there's a lot of value to every single person here asking the question is, what is enough? Because we all know the rich line is always moving, right? And if you don't draw a line where you know what's enough, then you'll never be able to operate from a place of abundance and giving back, where, you know, I've got all my bases covered. Like, I don't have to stress about money the rest of my life. So why am I operating from scarcity? Why am I not giving? Why am I not serving at an even higher level? What happened for me, it took a bit of therapy to figure this out. It's going to sound like common sense as soon as I share it, but I didn't know this was actually happening. I stopped playing to win and I started to play not to lose. And what happened was I started to ride the e-brake and I stopped hitting the gas. The way I got to the level I got to was by hitting the gas. I was in expansion mode, as Grant Cardone would say. I was expanding. I was not contracting. But what happened was I started to contract to protect what I had built because I didn't want to go backwards. And I didn't want to lose this identity of a 7-figure earner. And that, for some reason, And it's kind of crazy because I grew up in a Christian home, so I should be finding my identity in my personal relationship with Jesus and being a son of God. But I was finding more of my identity in the success, the worldly success I was gaining. And I think this is something everybody can relate to and will go through. And I just had to ask myself, what am I afraid of again? So I think these same questions just keep showing up at different levels. And I eventually, realized that I felt there was a big shift where I believed that what I was making was because of me. And if there was, I was taking massive action. I'm a massive action taker, speed of implementation, all of that. But I failed to recognize that it's his to give and mine to manage. And I started to, look at my house and my business and my followers. It was mine. And I realized, no, this was really all been given to me. And the opportunity is to give back even more. And it really was a shift to realize there's an opportunity to have more reach and more impact by not playing it safe, and by realizing that when you play it safe, you don't get to see God act, right? I say that comfort comes from the devil. Discomfort comes from God. Discomfort is a gift, but a lot of us think comfort is a gift. No, comfort comes from the darkest place on earth. So when you're given an opportunity to make the leap, to make another investment, to hire a team member, to increase your prices, these are all opportunities to increase your faith, to increase your trust in these seeds that have been planted in you to do what you've been called to do. So I think there's just a recognition that life is always about, how do you increase your faith? You put out more faith. How do you increase your trust? You put out more trust, right? How do you increase your belief? You put out more belief, right? It doesn't happen though until you do it. And unfortunately, we live in a world where everybody wants a guarantee before they take action. So we have to help people make that leap. I think that's constantly showing up. And you and I are in the $100 million mastermind. I'll just kind of finish up with this story here because people will love this one. When Joel told me, and Joel's one of my best friends. He was at my wedding party. I was in his wedding party. Our wives are great friends. Our kids are friends. They do iPads together and FaceTimes together. When Joel told me, hey, you should join the 100 million group, I said, how much? Like anyone else, 100K paid in full. My first thought was, that's a lot. And I'm like, come on, Joel, really? You guys are charging 100K? Come on. You guys are getting a little crazy now. Come on. Kind of pushing the limit here on these price points. Come on. And, he just broke it down to me. He said something really simple to me. He said, Vince, let me ask you an honest question. Who's truly pushing you right now to get to the next level? Who's really, honest question, who's truly pushing you? And I said, no one right now. No one's really pushing me. And what he sold me on was the environment, was to get into an environment that was going to force me to get to the next level. And even Stefan, just hanging out with you, knowing how fast your coaching program's growing and how much impact you're having. I'm just being in that proximity of power, I'm starting to think differently and act differently. And you just have to trust that when you put yourself into an environment where there's people moving faster and lifting heavier and pushing the limits, you're going to as well. And that's how you break those limiting beliefs. You put yourself in environments where you're going to get physically pushed. It's like the gym. Are you going to get better results training at the YMCA with the same workout program, or taking that workout program and going to Gold's Gym in California with all the biggest guys in the world? You're going to squeeze a lot more out when you're in that environment. And that investment, now, what does it matter if the investment was 100K, 200K? You're going to 10X it over time. So it really does come back to the question, do you want to grow? And you don't have to grow. You're not a bad person if you don't want to grow and if you want to coast. So the question is do you really want to grow? And you got to put yourself in those environments that stretch you.
Dude, yeah, that's so much good stuff there. I love it. Yeah, it's funny with that mastermind. For me, I joined because I thought about how every mastermind I've ever joined, I've gotten an insane ROI, right? And I wasn't joining specifically to make a bunch of money, but I'm I know I'll get the ROI, and the reason why was the people, the relationships, the connections, long tail effect, right? Well, over time, that all just tends to like compound and you get more out than you put in. And what's funny, we've only had one of them so far. The next one's in Miami next month.
Yeah.
But the funny thing for me, when I was at that first one, for whatever reason, talking to all these people who, a lot of them had put themselves out there more, and I was just getting ready to put myself out a little bit more. I'd done it with Copy Accelerator, but I still wasn't, I didn't have my email list. I wasn't doing as much stuff. And so while I was there, I decided, all right, I'm really going to start my email list. And like, that's when I started my email list. I'm like, I'm really going to launch RMBC. I started doing the first modules for RMBC in that hotel in Beverly Hills at like 5:30 in the morning on Sunday, the last day before we went to like the Porsche like place we went to or whatever. So even though, funnily enough, just being in that environment and then being around those people pushed me over the edge. And then, I don't know, between RMBC and my email list, it grossed $3-4 million for me probably in the year following. And I invested $100,000 in the Mastermind. So it's like, and you can be like, oh, but it wasn't just the Mastermind, you took action. I'm like, yeah, but a huge reason why I took action was the environment, right? And it's putting yourself in that environment where you do those things. It's just a huge difference. So yeah, man, I love that. I want to switch gears a tiny bit, not too much, because I'm curious about, you talked about the phone, sale, or we talked about closing people and sales and in person. I know you also are a big fan of, phone sales. And a lot of people I talk to, whether they are business owners, whether they are copywriters, like they're very afraid to close people. They're afraid to ask for the sale. It holds freelancers back all the time because they're afraid they sort of get on a call, dance around it, send someone a proposal, or afraid to put it undercharge, all of this stuff. And to me, like I get on a call, I'm expecting that when we get off the call, you're going to wire me the money and I'm going to write the thing for you, right? Like, and business owners too, though, they're afraid to call customers. They're afraid to do that stuff. So what are some tips you have around, I guess, perhaps getting over that fear? Like, why should some people think of closing and selling as unethical, right? They think like, oh, I'm a bad person for trying to sell somebody. And you're somebody who loves sales and who's one of the best in the road at it. And you're also one of the most ethical people I know. So what can you share with people who sort of have mental hangups around selling, closing, all of that kind of stuff?
Oh man, where do we start on that one? I mean, there is something about it, right, that you've got to love. And I mean, first of all, you got to find somebody who you resonate with. I personally love Grant Cardone. I know he's not everyone's favorite person, but he just keeps it so raw and real, and he simplifies things. It's just, he's got all of his lines. You got to find a guy that you like, all right? Somebody that you resonate with. Maybe if it's, there's so many different styles now. There's the heart-based selling approach. There's the let's just get to the point approach. There's the doctor frame approach. There's a lot of people you can learn from. So I think the first thing is you need to find I had Cardone in my ear. I want to make it clear, I did phone closing in my online fitness business until I launched my mastermind in 2016 or so. So I actually never closed anybody on the phone. My first time closing was in front of a room of 31 people, and I closed 16 people for a $15,000 package. I don't know, 200 or 300 grand, someone can do the math here, that all of a sudden came to the front of the room, and Bedros Keuilian prepared me for the pitch. And I think one of the things, I'll give you guys a few techniques that really helped me with my pitch. And, one of the things that I always say is, I want to first of all ask everybody in the room, are you committed to doing this with or without me? So I always want to get the hands up because I don't want to pitch to anybody who's not committed. All right, how many people have seen the value so far today? So I always like to lead with value. All right, cool. Well, at this point, I always have two options. I can let you do it on your own, or we can do it together. How many people here would love to hear about what it would look like for us to do this together? So right there, I just got, and then I say, hey, and how many people are like dead set serious that they're doing this? You're going to hit a 6-figure business, 7-figure business, whatever, by this time. Raise your hand really high in the air so I can see. So I get commitment multiple times before I go into my pitch. And I think the first thing with selling is just to know you're speaking to somebody that's ready to get going. For me, that personally just drops my nerves. The only time selling was weird was when I was talking to somebody that I was pitching that didn't actually say they didn't give me permission to pitch. So I get a lot of micro commitments, a lot of head nods, a lot of hand raises, and a lot of I guess you call it commitment and consistency, before I go into my spiel. And then really my selling approach is I sell the product that I'm a product of. And I think to gain conviction in your sales process, like, I don't sell a course. I sell a coaching program. I sell a mastermind because that's what I'm a product of. It would be disingenuous for me to pitch a course. Nothing wrong with courses. Courses are great, but that's not how I became successful. So you have to be a product of what you're selling. You're the face of the product. Another piece is I've got this one line that I always include in my pitches, which is, hey, and it's always based on the assumption that we're working together. So, hey, listen, so you mentioned you're committed to doing this with or without me. Great. So basically today you're buying 4 things. I just want to make sure you're clear. So when you got to talk to somebody, you're going to tell them these are the 4 things you just signed up for. You're paying for knowledge, you're paying for speed, you're paying for relationships, and you're paying for accountability. Sound good? And you need to know what they're signing up for, right? That's what they're paying for. And my entire process through the sales pitch is really not to scare them into buying, but to open their eyes up to the problems that are around the corner that I already have solutions for. So I do a lot of questions. I like to ask them, so hey, so when you get to 10K, do you know how to, add your first team member? No. Okay, great. So when you get to your 50K, do you know how to start running ads? No. All right. So when we start doing our lives, do you know what to change up when you hear crickets? No. All right. So when you get somebody to say this on the phone, do you know how to overcome that? No. So my sales process is really just opening people's eyes up to the challenges that they haven't even considered, to see a long, long runway. And then, I invite them to get started right now. And really, my whole thing with selling is they always say, hey, guys, you're probably wondering what's the price. My line is, what does it freaking matter what the price is? All right. Who cares what the price is if we're here to help you build a 6-figure, 7-figure business? Who cares if it's 50K, 40K, 30K, or 20K? It's actually going to cost you nothing. The coaching program's free. It's $0 as long as you're an action taker. And if you're not an action taker, I'm not sure why you're still in the room. So I really do a lot of disqualification. I'm constantly disqualifying people, but I'm speaking to a part of their heart that is forcing them to find another gear and to step up and finally freaking eat the words they've been yapping on for the last 10 years with no action. So I sell with education and with inspiration. I want to inspire somebody and I want them to be educated, and I constantly reframe. So guys, this is not a hard decision. This is the easiest decision of your life. All right. So I just constantly help them get to see that, guys, if you're scared right now, you should be scared. If you're not scared, I don't want you coming into the program, because fear is the path to freedom. So as you can see, I've mastered a lot of different lines that really connect with people. And interesting enough, all the lines that I use are the lines that worked on me, because it spoke to me and it made me move. So I wouldn't say a line that I heard worked for one guy that I'm like, that's not me. I would never say that. So the selling process is very authentic, and there's an energy there where people can feel like this guy actually cares. I haven't felt this before. So there's obviously, sales courses are, there's a gazillion out there, but I think those are some of the takeaways. Your certainty, getting that commitment, getting the permission, opening their eyes up, and then just assuming that they want to work together and getting them to see that this isn't going to cost them anything. And what I really do a lot of is, what's this going to cause them? All right. And I'm not afraid to go there. This isn't going to cost you anything, but here's what it's going to cause you. And I like to talk a lot about cost of inaction. And we do a lot of exercises where we get people to take out the calculator and we get them to, I'll give everybody a good one. See if you're working with, here's the thing. So this works well in my world, but if you're a service provider, you're probably not going to go into a full-blown sales pitch like this. You're probably going to have to really lean forward with a lot of social proof and just, have a really solid, option like 1, 2, or 3, which one's best for you? How do you want to get started, and make it much more smoother? Because it is odd if like I'm getting a copywriter or a tech service provider or a podcast manager doing a sales pitch on me. Your work will speak for itself. And when you've got the work, then you don't typically need all this because, you know what I'm saying? Like your reputation will precede you. So it's more just qualifying the right people, making sure they're ready and can afford your level of service. So, but I kind of give you a bit of both there. Hope that was helpful.
Yeah, I think that was great. And I saw Stephen Butler said I'd be putting fire emojis right now if I could. He said in the Zoom. And, but yeah, it's really good. I was laughing to myself. You're getting like me fired up as you're going through what you do with the pitch. And I have a joke that if you ever want me to join your mastermind, just invite me to speak. Because every time I go speak at a mastermind, I'm like, I end up joining it. Justin gives me so much shit about it. I know you only work with people in the fitness. So thank God if I ever do speak at yours, I'll probably be safe. But like, I mean, just hearing, but a lot of people aren't that good at selling from stage or pitching, but like, I'll still, I join, I love masterminds just like you, like I'm a product of them. Right. And so, but yeah, when you can just tell, I think people watching and listening, whether you're live with us now or you'll watch on YouTube later or listen on iTunes, I think by hearing Vince talk, you can just see what a command he has and you can imagine how he's so successful. Andre said, I love the bit about, are you committed to doing this with or without me? Want to use that in a webinar? Yeah, totally. I think that's a gem right there. We are going to get to questions in a minute. So for people who are in Zoom, feel free to pop those in the Q&A here. And of course, Ed, I'll let you ask a question or two in a second as well. Before we do that, and before we go further, Vince, what is the best way for people who want to connect with you, follow you, be in your universe? I like to try to ask that in the middle versus the end.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Couple spots, and to look at it from the lens of reverse engineering my marketing, however serve you most. So we're starting to rebuild my YouTube channel, which was how I built all those 7-figure fitness businesses. I share that one first because it'll be a good, like we're getting like 1,000 to 1,500 views when we used to get anywhere from like 10,000 to 50,000 views in the first couple of days of a video. And now I'm gone all the way back to the start because I haven't been active on the channel for 3 years. So you can watch me rebuild a channel from scratch and really trying to re-engage an audience that came for muscle. And now we're blending business building principles into the world of muscle. So YouTube channel, podcasts, Vince Del Monte podcast, we do 3 per week. That's much more tactical around business building stuff. Facebook and Instagram. So we're trying to be prolific and whatever your drug of choice is, we answer all of our DMs and messages on all those platforms.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, everyone, make sure you go follow Vince and engage. I know I follow Vince on Instagram. I'm excited that he's rebuilding YouTube, and I've been on the podcast before.
Yes, yeah.
Awesome podcast and worth a listen. Vince is a great host and has a lot of really interesting people on. So before we go to any questions, I see one in the Q&A right now. Ed Reay, I want to give you a chance. If you have any questions for Vince, I'd love to see what you got.
I don't have any questions off the top of my mind, but I'm pretty confident something will come up.
Okay, cool. So I haven't looked at the questions. I'm gonna guess it's from Max Uria because he's super active with questions.
Yeah, you were correct.
That's amazing, Max. I did that without even looking here. Well, yeah, go ahead. Let us know. And Vince, the way it works is Ed will generally, he'll kind of give us a summary. We'll bring Max on. Max can actually ask a question, or whoever the guest is will ask a question, and we'll answer after that. So go ahead.
Cool. So Max, here is a question about integrating business and family.
What's up, Max?
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
So I know, Vince, you and Stefan as well, you give a lot of importance to family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have Flavia and Stefan has Laura, you have your children, and not only do you give a lot of importance to your business as well, but I see, and I've been following you for a long time, both of you, and I really value the fact that you, as you said, it's possible to do this without selling your soul. So what are some main principles or ways to integrate your life, like family life, and your business, so you're not only productive when it comes to business, but also in your relationship with your wives, with your children, and your health as well?
Yeah, great question. I appreciate the question a lot, Max. You think it's weird, like why would someone ask a question about how to, make your family first? Isn't family supposed to be, isn't that like just easy to do? It's really interesting. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there just really, really driven, and we find our calling. I've had to get a lot of therapy around this, around achievement. And we find a lot of our identity in doing. Even when I'm upstairs sometimes with my kids, I'm bored. Like, cause my kids, I love my kids. I will wrestle with them, but like, it's not engaging in a certain way. And I would have to go empty the dishwasher just to feel like productive, or you'll see me like cleaning the playroom just because I need to feel like I'm doing something. I had to get professional help on this. I'll share with you some things that I've personally done. Some are very tactical. One of them is it down here? I got an addiction box for my cell phone where I put my phone in the box between 4:30 and 7:30. And I put a 3-hour timer on it. And the reason I do that is not to be disconnected from my phone, but because I want to live a life of enriching moments. And when I'm with my kids, I want to actually be present, and I don't need to self-judge, or not self-judge. I don't need to be analyzing their questions and figuring out what's the payoff in this interaction. I can be present and give my attention, and that's my highest gift. My attention and my presence is my highest gift. Like right now, guys, I'm fully with you right now. I'm not checking my phone to see what else is going on. I don't have other windows going on. I am full. You guys have my full attention right now. And the people in your life, your significant other, your kids, your friends, that's all they want from you. They just want you. They just want your attention and your focus. So I think you need to create some really hard boundaries. I wake up at 4 o'clock and I get my deep work in from 4 to 7 each day. I'm upstairs helping with the kids from 7 to 8 a.m. I have a hard stop at 4:30 and I don't work weekends. I have nothing against people who have different schedules or don't. I had to set up what my wife said to me was the expectation. She set the standard of performance. If you want to know what the standard of performance is, ask your significant other. She'll tell you, all right? So that's what it is for me. All right. She wants me present with the kids on the weekends. And that's something I should want as well. So we can have a family. Anybody can build a house. The question is can you make a family? Right? Do your kids actually want to spend time with you? When they're young, they do. But as you grow older, like the habits you have when they're younger, they don't just disappear. So that's one thing that I do, disconnecting from the phone. That's a huge one. And then also a couple other things. Weekly date night with my wife every Tuesday. And we're locked down here in Toronto. We travel an hour to either Oakville or Guelph to have our date night. And we go with another couple as well. So that's a non-negotiable. All right. So that's a non-negotiable. Church on Sundays is a non-negotiable. Now we're watching it from home. There's secret services that we know about, but we're normally watching church from home right now. And Sunday mornings, that's a non-negotiable because those are our values. A value is something that you prize highly and practice daily. So you have to ask yourself, what are your values? My workouts, those are non-negotiables. All right. My reading in the morning time, I do a cold shower. I do 10 minutes of reading, a devotional, something in my Bible, something from YouVersion. And then I'll also have my cold shower, my prayer, a bit of reading, and then I start my work. All right, start early. So those are non-negotiables, and I'm building my business around my life, not my life around my business. And the reason I do that, like you need to understand. So I have over 25 team members fully employed with my organization. In order to achieve my ambition, which is quite high, I need to operate a high level of effectiveness. All right. If my ambition is up here and my effectiveness is down here, I'll always feel this gap and sense of unfulfillment and anxiety and stress and depression. So I have two options. I can lower my ambition, or I can bring up my level of effectiveness to match my ambition. When my effectiveness matches my ambition, that's when I'm most fulfilled. That's when you'll meet Happy Vince. That's when you'll feel he's got a good energy about him. If you feel something off is with Vince, that's what's going on. Ambition is high, effectiveness is low. So those things help me be effective in my work, because when I'm present with my family, I'm actually training myself to be more focused. So when I do work, I'm more efficient with my time, because I can't compete with a lot of guys who are my competition because they don't have kids. They can work 16 plus hours a day. I can't beat a lot of guys on time anymore, but I can beat guys on effectiveness. So I have accountability, and I'm constantly trying to level up my own personal habits to be the leader for my organization, so that I'm setting this culture of being ready and being responsive and not being reactive. But that starts with your daily habits. It's crazy that we talk about this stuff, right, when it comes to building a business, but it's, you know, how they think, who says it? Ed Milet, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So that's how I integrate family into my life. Family comes first, and then you build everything else around it. And my wife, she's pretty hard on me too. Like, she says, if you can't hit these financial goals of yours from, 4 to 4 each day, then you need to go talk to a different business coach, because you're clearly not making good use of your time. She said, if you can't hit your goals with 12 hours a day, what the hell are you doing downstairs in the basement all day? That's how my wife speaks to me. She's like, what's the point if you can't even disconnect and be with us? We don't want the money. Just go back to work at Phoenix Fitness. Let somebody else pay you, so at least we get you. Because your family, yes, they like the trips, don't get me wrong, but they don't want the trips more than they want you. And that's a good one to swallow.
Dude,
Wow.
yeah, so good, man. That's just Max, you happy with that answer? I'm very happy with that answer.
Happy stays short. Thank you, Vince.
Yeah, great question, Max. Thanks for asking that.
Thank you.
Dude, yeah, Vince, there's so much I love about that. Because I agree. I have a similar schedule as you do, and I wake up really early. I get a lot of deep work time done then, but I really try to stop. And then, because and the other thing is, if you extend your day, like, you can always find things to fill your time. So I could sit at my computer from 4:30 to 6:30 or 7 at night, and I'll find stuff to do, but it's like not even important stuff. It's stuff that I could just do the next morning, or I can do whatever, or I could delegate, or it's like, so you have to have those hard stops. I think it's really important. But I love the idea of raising your effectiveness to match your ambition. And I think that is just that, and the idea of what do you value, something that you prize highly and practice daily. I mean, there's just so much gold right there, man. So thank you for that answer. That's great. Cool. And I know we had a question from.
I got some questions now, man.
I knew it was gonna start.
All right. First question, Vince. And by the way, it is good to see you again. I think we have met before, right?
I think
fellow
so.
Canadians here, so
Yeah, we're both Canadians. I used to work with someone that you know. But anyway, let's not go into that. So, what is what is the one system that system or process you wish you would have implemented into your business or life sooner that would have made all the difference?
The phone. Accountability. I think that's a big one. To do what you got to do to have some skin in the game and not have someone you want to be disappointed. So accountability is huge. A lot of us, we hear this stuff and we live through so much information, so we become desensitized to these things that actually work. I would have definitely done a high ticket coaching model earlier. I mean, that's how I make my living right now, high ticket coaching. If you guys want a business thing, I would have definitely let go of the wheel a lot sooner. I heard a great quote from a pastor named Craig Rochelle. He says, you can either have control or you can have growth, but you can't have both. That took me a long one to figure out. If you want to go up, then you need to let go. How many of you guys are feeling stuck on the ground? It's because you're holding on to something. You're holding on to something, and you got to let go in order to go up. So control or growth, which one's more important to you? And I have a large size team. I actually have a leadership team now, which is something I had never had. A head of paid ads, a head of marketing, a head of operations, a head of coaching, and then myself, and that's our leadership team, and they have all teams underneath them, and it's head of sales. And who would have thought that somebody else could run a full department? And actually, just to give you guys all props, Stefan, one of your own, Ariba from Copywriter Lite. She's our one of our dedicated. We have now a few more copywriters, but she's been a dedicated copywriter. She's done great work. We've really brought her up, and yeah, she's a part of my organization. So she's very. You guys are doing great work with her, and she's doing awesome stuff. I think I just found out she's like 20 or 21. Crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff. I thought she was like way older. Not because of how she looked, but just because of her maturity and all that. So I would have built a team sooner. And I think I shared enough there.
Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, Ariba, I remember Vince, you and I had a call, and then Ariba was on it, and you're like, "Oh, I've got my writer Ariba," and I'm like, "Ariba's in our mastermind," but I'm like, "How cool is that?" And yeah, I think she's 21, she's in Pakistan, and she's in medical school, and she's also writing full time and an incredible copywriter. So she's just someone I really am inspired by. You know, it's incredible.
And good for her. We brought on a whole full-blown marketing team with some really like next level copywriters, and she's going to get exposure to that.
Yeah,
and she's getting mentored by some really high level marketers now, and like she's like her potential is limitless.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's great. An awesome answer too. Ed, you wanna hit Lyle's? I know you have some other questions too, perhaps.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do Lyle's.
Lyle here's got a question about when you initially start building a channel.
Cool. What's up, Lyle?
Oh, that's a fantastic
hey, how's
question.
it going?
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Good.
Hey, Vince, how you doing? Thanks
Lyle.
thanks so much for the value you're giving today, man. It's freaking amazing so far. Love your mindset and just like your approach to growing a business. I like how you said like you can either have control or you can grow. I feel like myself, I give up control and then try to gain it back. And that's kind of the growth process is what I feel at times. I'm also a huge fan of Grant Cardone, and you mentioned that as well. When I was in selling, like I would watch all the role plays that he did over the phone and use that with cold calls all the time. It was so effective. So yeah, just regarding YouTube, I'm kind of planning to start a YouTube channel around my weight loss journey. And one of the things I wanted to know was like, when you initially start, do you focus more on like building an audience and a brand, or where's the balance with selling and actually cultivating that audience? What's that like for you with your experience?
Yeah. So one of my mentees, Stefan knows him as well, Richard Yu. You guys want to look him up on on YouTube. There's a full-blown podcast on how Richard came into my life and how he spent a year under my mentorship. He actually lived in my home for quite a few months, and basically had a front row seat to our entire organization. And Richard was also building his YouTube channel while he was working with me. And now I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. Richard's 22 years of age, UCLA student, just graduated. He actually completed his degree while working for me last year. And he built this YouTube channel up. You guys can look up his YouTube channel, Richard Yu. He got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views. He was doing one video a week for over 6 months. And we were going to the gym together. He kept asking me the same question, Lyle. He said, when should I make an offer? And I just said, keep growing the channel. Keep growing the channel. Just keep focusing on grow the audience, grow the audience, grow the audience. Just build your following, because that's the hardest thing in this business, to grow an audience, to grow a following. Everyone wants, how do I find quality leads? You don't. You focus on building a following. Then you get them to like, know, and trust you. You give them 10x value, and then they might, like, there's no such thing as a good or bad quality lead. It's just, has somebody been nurtured or somebody not been nurtured? It's you. There you go. And what happened was he finally kind of found what his audience wanted, which was productivity. And I said, what do they want? He's like, I don't know. Then he said, you probably shouldn't sell them anything. So he's like, he's a very analytical guy. So I guess he processed that, for a long time. And eventually he found out that his audience were also students and they were trying to be more productive. So he came out with a $500 productivity course. He modeled my webinar, and in his very first webinar, he made 50K. And then in his second webinar, 2 weeks later, he did another 50K. He makes 100 grand off these 2 webinar performances. And guess where all the people came from? His YouTube channel. But he spent 6 months showing up with value, editing his own videos, 1 video per week for 6 months. I just interviewed him a couple days ago. And he broadcast this, so I can share this. But he's done either $750,000 or $850,000 cash collected in the last 8 months. Not bad for a 22-year-old just getting started, and it's all off a $500 offer. And now, sorry, not all of it. Now he has a YouTube business coaching program, a couple K for that, and it's a combination of the productivity course. And now he's got new problems. He was like, how do I get my audience to be interested in this? Because, you know, his views are going down now. He's like, Vince, how do I get my views back up? He's like, so I'm like, he's panicking. I'm like, Richard, it's okay. What did I tell you? New levels bring new devils. And that's a great model. So build your audience. All right. Get your channel growing consistently and find out what message resonates with them the most. And then build up a lot of anticipation before you maybe release something. And that's how you'll strike properly. And your audience will be like sending you hate mail in the process because they're like, when are you going to release something? When are you going to release something? That's when you know you're ready to sell something.
So good. Lyle, is that helpful for you?
Freaking epic. Thank you so much. Brilliant.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. That's true. I love the hate mail thing, Vince, because I've gotten that with RMBC method before I released that. And now I've got this new low ticket kind of program course I'm coming out with about kind of fixing different parts of your funnel. And I have people angry emailing me like I talked about a couple of times, like, hey, when is this ready? Like, stop talking about it. Send me the link. And I'm like, that's good. That's a good sign, right?
Exactly.
That's awesome. Ed, do you have any additional questions for Vince here?
Yeah. Vince, what would you say is the 80-20 of your business, like the 20% that has the most impact on your audience? And also, I mean, in terms of revenue too, would be dope if you're cool with sharing with that.
Yeah. The 80-20 of my business in context of what drives our business forward.
Yep.
I'll give you guys our C4 method. You guys ready for this? It's a little too simple. All right. So the first C is content. The second C is conversations. The third C are calls. And the fourth C is cash. And really what we're looking to do is just constantly turn those dials up. You know, if you look at your business in context of macros, what's the most important macro when it comes to building your body? In the chat, what do you all think? What's the most important macro? Protein. Max nailed it. It's protein. Well, guess what protein is when it comes to building your business? Protein is leads. You can't build a business without leads. So you've got to live and breathe leads. So how do you generate leads? You have to first dial in your content. All right. Now, when you've got your content dialed in, you've got leads, you need to dial in your conversations. All right. Now, when you've got the conversations coming, you need to maximize the ratio of conversations to being booked in for calls. And then we need to ensure you're getting there's certain key performance metrics all the way through this funnel to people showing up for the call. And then a certain percentage of those people showing up for a call who are actually buying. And then a certain percentage of those people who are paying in full versus monthly. And then a certain percentage of those people who are upgrading to your next thing. So if you look at your entire model, like essentially it's like a faucet, you're trying to just identify where's the water getting clogged. And for most people, it's getting clogged right at the top of the funnel. They don't have enough leads. So that results in us looking at your content. So interestingly enough, what I'm working on is the same stuff everybody else is working on. We're all working on the same stuff. I'm trying to communicate my message in a way that resonates with my ideal target audience more and more so that my content lands, so we get more conversations and more calls and more cash and more, and the process just continues. So the stuff that's my like 80-20 that I can't delegate to anybody else is the vision and getting real clear who this coaching program is for. And then my leadership, helping my talent become the talent. And then my personality, improving my personality so that more people want to do business with us and come into our world. So that's my 80%, that drives or that's my 20% that drives the 80%. So my personality, my leadership, and my vision. Those are the three things that I spend the most time on.
Dude, that was dope. Oh shit.
That is dope. Oh, I think I saw, let's see, something else coming. It's more Max. Max, you know, we're gonna, I love you, Max, but I'm gonna ask one of your questions for you. And then if there aren't additional questions after that, we'll kind of go into wrap up mode. But one question Max asked that I do think is helpful for all the writers. And he said, what are some issues you and your mastermind members have when it comes to finding copywriters in the fitness niche? I'm just always curious about that because obviously there are, you know, our audience is about half business owners, half freelancers, but you know, it'd be good insights for the copywriters to hear that, I think.
One, they don't have an email program. So we actually just connected another girl, and I believe in your program, with one of our top female clients. And, you know, she's doing over 6 figures a month, and she doesn't have an email program because she just is focused on social media, the system we taught, content, conversations, calls, cash. So the first thing is to find out, hey, do you have an email program? Do you know how much your email program produces in revenue each month? What's your form of generating leads? So if you can just like ask those questions, you're not a salesperson, you're just asking great questions. And if you were to ask somebody who's a social media influencer, or somebody who's got 10, making 10, 20, 50, whatever K a month, I'm going to guarantee that about 80% of them don't have email programs. And they probably don't have, if they do, they probably have very little intelligence around their email management, the management of the program in terms of like best practices. They probably don't have a daily newsletter. They probably don't have automation set up. They likely they don't know how to do promotions. All right. So if you can, one, find out, do you have an email program? 2, is it generating the revenue that you want it to? 3, do you need any help running a profitable email program? You're in. And if you could lead with the things that you can help them with best, what can a copywriter do better than anybody else? In my mind, there's 4 or 5 things that a copywriter should be bringing the most value to the table for, like higher level. 1, headlines and hooks. Headlines and hooks. 2, captions, for social media, body copy for the emails. 4, offers. And 5, CTAs. So better headlines and hooks, better captions, body copy, better offers, better CTAs. You will pay for yourself. And with the Reba, I even, she asked for quite a bit of money. You guys trained her well, but she was brand new. I said, Reba, we're not paying you that much right out of the gate. But what we will do is we'll start you here. And once we get, visibility on what your work is actually producing each month, be happy to pay you more. If you can show me that you're making me more each month, you're showing what your emails are producing in terms of revenue, then we can definitely pay you more. So now the copywriter can operate as an entrepreneur within your organization, and you can start to guide some strategies, and then you can also implement the strategies the business owner is giving you. So to take a job with the business owner for 2 to 3K a month with hopes to go up to 5 to 7K a month, that's a nice little gig. So I hope that was helpful. But the thing that you want to know is that most people in my world, we're teaching them high ticket coaching, and they don't have the capacity or resources to start investing into like tech, like opt-in pages and management of things, because they're still in a scarcity mindset. So that most of them don't have an email program. Where you guys are like, what? How's that possible? How do you run a business without email? They're doing it all purely off of social media, messages, calls, cash. So integrating that, and if you can find specifically, if they're doing anywhere from 15 to 30K a month, they're ready for you. So if they're kind of under 15K a month, I'll be honest, I wouldn't try and push them, because they probably can't even really afford you, because they're still operating from an employee mindset where they don't have good financial habits. They have a good month, but they spend it all. They're not working with like, hey, I made this much, I need to save a certain amount because it might not be this high every month. So they haven't embraced the full entrepreneur mindset, and they're putting too much pressure on you to produce when their business might not be in that position. So you might have a short-lived term with them where in 3-4 months they're like, I don't know if I'm making my money back on this. So you want to work with entrepreneurs that I would say that are at least in 15 to 30K a month consistently. You'll be able to spend some good time together. And I coach my students on how to work with the copywriters as well. So I think that's going to set you up for the best success.
Yeah, that's an awesome answer. And I think for a lot of the copywriters out there, I think they'll assume that these clients who are doing higher volume, whatever that is, whether it's like, a coach doing 15 to 30,000, a business that's doing 300,000 or 3 million a month, that you just sort of assume that they have it all figured out and everything's dialed in. And it's just not true. I can't tell you, I'm sure you're the same way, Vince. I know so many business owners and they're like, oh, we're actually not even emailing our list, or like we send an email a week, and it's like, you're like, what the hell? Like, but that's great. There's so much opportunity out there. And, so yeah, awesome answer there. Cool. So we're going to wrap up here. Vince, again, for people who want to connect with you, you've got your YouTube channel, which you're rebuilding. You've got Instagram. You've got Facebook. What else am I missing here? Where else?
Podcasts. It's all the Vince Del Monte podcast, at Vince Del Monte on Instagram. And I saw a couple people here already friend request me on Facebook, Vince Del Monte. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, Vince, thank you so much. Seriously, so many quotable lines, so much value. Just really appreciate you walking the walk and coming and giving so much value and incredible kind of advice and sharing so much with our audience. Really appreciate it a lot.
Thank you guys for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, Max just said one of the best episodes. I agree. Just awesome. So, all right, everybody, that wraps it up. That was the Road to a Billion with Vince Del Monte. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube watching this replay later, make sure you smash the like button, leave a comment, let myself, Ed, Vince know what you thought of the episode. If you listen on iTunes, make sure you're subscribed, leave a review. If you haven't already, help me help more people. Those things boost the algorithm. It helps reach more people, and we just love your help. Other than that, we will see everybody next week. And thank you, Ed Reay, as well. And thank you.